Lads, calm down about the turnovers. Anyone who is mentioning turnovers, and this is my you didn't watch the game. Tell me you didn't watch the game without telling me you didn't watch the game is when they bring up Caitlin Clark's turnovers. Like, it is one of those things. People are like, Caitlin needs to be more careful with the ball. And I actually do agree with that. I agree with Caitlin being more careful with the ball. She does. She needs to be more careful with the ball. That is a fact. No question about that. Not an argument for my sake. But what people don't understand is they actually are saying, let's take the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hands. And so Caitlin Clark did not play for... Let's look at the second quarter here. They were -8 when Caitlin Clark was... How much did they lose the second quarter by? They lost the second quarter by 8 points. So they were -6 in the 2 minutes Caitlin Clark didn't play. And I'm not joking when I say this. As a team, it was only one turnover from Sophie Cunningham. But I think, was it a shot clock violation? Some mad stuff. There's only one actual turnover that they had when Caitlin Clark was off the floor. But this team is significantly less careful with the ball when Caitlin's off the floor. Look, nothing happens. Nothing happens. And I'm sorry, Caitlin generates 15 layups for her team a game. She generates 15 layups for her team. And a player who generates that many layups is... you live with the turnovers. Because, unfortunately, or not even unfortunately, unfortunately, to generate a layup, there has to be some degree of risk in the passes. And if you watch the passes that Caitlin Clark threw, the amount of times Jonquel Jones was fully fronting Aaliyah Boston, and Caitlin threw passes to Aaliyah Boston for open layups. There was maybe 3 of those assists. Some of those passes Caitlin Clark threw were absolutely nuts. They were absolutely nuts. And look, I'm not saying it was a great game from Caitlin Clark. What I am saying is the turnovers are not everything. And I think people aren't watching the games and they read box scores. And I understand that. I understand people that are box score readers because at the end of the day, some people just don't like watching basketball and they want to talk about basketball. So I understand being a box score reader. To an extent, when it comes to the NBA, I've been a box score reader at times. And that's the big reason why I do WNBA content is I can still watch every single game. I can still watch every game and it's pretty easy. And it's genuinely one of those things where I'm like, how is there an issue with Caitlin Clark averaging 4 turnovers a game while she generates 15 layups and stays aggressive? That's all I'm going to say. 0 turnovers in the fourth quarter, and she was garbage in the fourth quarter. Caitlin Clark was unbelievable in the first quarter. Caitlin Clark had 5 of those 9 turnovers in the first quarter. She had five turnovers in the first quarter, and she was unbelievable. She was unbelievable. I mean this. She was unbelievable in the first quarter. And that's when he sums it up. People count turnovers. She committed almost all those turnovers early in the game when she was unbelievable, and the Indiana Fever had 29 points in the first quarter. She nearly set the record for assists in a quarter. I mean, she was just generating open layups. There were passes that the New York Liberty were leaving that were not open. They weren't open. And Caitlin was still throwing those passes to Aaliyah, and she was still getting those assists. How many open layups did Caitlin Clark generate for Aaliyah Boston? How many open layups does Caitlin Clark generate for other players? If you guys agree with this, subscribe. We are trying to hit 47.4K. If we can hit that by the end of the day, that'd be insane. But the turnovers matter, but I don't care. I don't care. I would rather Caitlin Clark stay aggressive and average 4 turnovers a game than be passive and average 2. If you want to see a player that is extremely, and I mean extremely, risk averse and have a low assist to turnover ratio in the WNBA, go watch Paige Bueckers. Watch just how risk averse Paige Bueckers is. She is incredibly risk averse. I'm not saying she's a bad passer. I think she's a great passer. She's so risk averse. Most of her assists are for her throwing the ball on the wing to players that are mediocre shooters and they're hitting shots. Or sometimes open layups or into Nalissa Smith in a post touch where they're not fronting Nalissa Smith. Most of Caitlin Clark's assists are throwing the ball to people for open layups. Or getting the ball to Aaliyah in a position to do well. Like, that is the vast majority of Caitlin Clark's assists. And it's genuinely like, we are looking now at a player who whenever people talk about turnovers, if it was easy to throw a pass that generates an open layup, Caitlin Clark would, without turning the ball over, everyone would do it. Everyone would do it. And that's the thing. You have to genuinely currently, you have to go and play against Caitlin Clark. You have to go and play in a way and guard her in a way that you don't guard anyone else. And because of the way, you guard her like nobody else is guarded, she ends up creating open layups for teams. Players switch off weak side on Lexi Hull. Players switch off on the lob pass for Leah Boston. And yes, she is going to miss shots. She is going to turn the ball over. That happens. That happens in games. But I would rather see Caitlin Clark stay aggressive. And then there's idiots saying Caitlin Clark is better decision making. There's genuine idiots like Caitlin Clark's a bad decision maker. Caitlin Clark makes bad decisions. She's one of the best decision makers in the WNBA. Playing passive is not good decision making. Passiveness is not good decision making. And box score watchers believe passiveness is good decision making. And I mean that. Box score watchers believe that. And people are made up that she had 10 turnovers and went through 2 of 11 from 3. She had not. How did she miss a shot and get a turnover? So they gave her a shot and a missed turnover. That's crazy. That's crazy. So that they gave Natasha Cloud a steal on a missed shot. They gave her a steal on the last one and they gave Caitlin Clark a missed shot. That's crazy. That's crazy. But at the end of the day, do you want to know why I say that's crazy? Because box score watchers will run with it. How the hell she can miss a shot and get the ball stolen from her in the same motion, I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's a crazy one. It is a crazy one. But look, turnovers, they don't matter. They don't matter. Individual turnovers don't matter when a player generates 15 open layups a game. 15 open layups a game. If Caitlin Clark, by the way, was turning the ball over 10 times a year ago and she wasn't generating the open layups, then there's a concern. If she was turning the ball over in the backcourt because she was getting stripped like she was last year, then there's a concern. She commits two turnovers a game on hacks that aren't called. And also, if she turns the ball over by throwing a pass that if it's not a turnover is an open layup, we live with that. Because it's 2 points? And she still makes significantly more good passes than bad passes in those situations. If Natasha Howard just looks up and puts her hands up in the air, how many assists does she have in that game? 14? 14 assists? If Aaliyah Boston made a couple... In fairness, I can't say Aaliyah Boston. Aaliyah Boston finished everything. But there are legitimately games that Caitlin Clark could have 17 assists this year. If her team finished well, she could have had 17 assists. She should have had 2 assists to open shots, but they got hacked twice late down the stretch. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys.